Okay, I'd like to call to order the Lynchburg Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, July 24th, 2019. And first, I'd like to acknowledge a couple things. I appreciate Kenzie stepping in for me at the last meeting, July 10th. And also would like to just mention what a great job Eve is doing, getting our minutes and getting our stuff posted. That's really helpful. Allows us to look at things a lot more quickly than a day or two before, so appreciate that. Now, the first order of business would be looking at the minutes from the last meeting, July 10th, and I will abstain since I was not here, but has everybody had a chance to look those over?
Yep.
Looked okay.
Anybody want to make a motion on that?
I move to accept the minutes adopted for July 10th, 2019.
I'll second.
Okay, I'll go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, no one opposed. All right, the next thing we'll hear is a public hearing, and it is on the petition of BHC Roads for a conditional use permit at 128 Old Courthouse Turnpike to allow the construction of a utility equipment shelter to support a fiber optic network in an R4 high-density residential district. So, you want to hear
It's a fairly simple petition. It is located in an R4 district, but it's kind of out of the way. The underlying R4 zoning would not change. The facility would be screened from view, and there would be no towers associated with the development. And the Planning Division does recommend approval.
Okay, great. Is there anybody here who wants to come up and talk about this petition? Great, thanks. If you could state your name and then sign the paper there, I'd like to hear about it.
My name is John Tucker. I work for BHC Roads, a civil engineering firm, and Middle Mile Infrastructure is our client who has asked us to design this long-haul fiber optic route in Virginia right away. And approximately every 50 miles, we need kind of a booster station, and that's what this building will function as. We'll have fiber coming from the highway right-of-way to this building, and then leaving the building and going back into the right-of-way. And it's all underground. There's no towers except for our 10-foot building.
All right. Is there anybody else here to speak in favor? I don't see many people here today. Anybody want to speak in opposition before we discuss this? Okay, great, thanks. You might as well stay seated, and
Okay.
We'll close the public hearing and can discuss this here and move forward.
I don't see any problem with it.
Non-invasive.
No. These come up periodically, and they've never been issues, and that's typically why no one comes to debate them. You said it's going to be primarily in the ground, but there's still going to be some sort of above-surface access shelter.
Yeah, it's
That's
about
what I
a
mentioned.
550 square foot building or so.
One question, how much noise is associated with something like that?
This has come up before. When there's a backup generator, if that ever has to go on, and I'm kind of speaking off the cuff, but it's something like a lawnmower. If your next door neighbor was running his lawnmower, so it's not. We can get noise studies or decibel levels and.
But there's
provide.
nobody much around it, right?
Correct. Once it's built, we anticipate once a month for maintenance or something like that.
Right, the generator comes on automatically to check out.
Yeah, they'll do a
That's about it.
test once a month, or maybe it might be once a week on the generator for, I think, 20 minutes or something.
Right.
And we can schedule that anytime,
Yeah, I mean, and the type of uses that are allowed here, it fits right in with the neighborhood commercial. So.
I have no issue with it.
No problem.
questions?
Yeah.
Would somebody want to make a motion? And
I will move move to accept the petition for a conditional use permit at 128 Old Courthouse Turnpike as it is written.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Moves forward. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Wish they were all that easy.
What's that?
Wish they
Yeah.
were all that easy.
All right. The next thing we'll be hearing about is this consideration of amending the zoning ordinance, section 35 to 11.3. Applications considering proffers. Amendments will conform to the provisions of Virginia Code effective July 1st, 2019. Tom, can you talk
Yeah,
about
so
that?
these, the General Assembly made a few amendments to that code section, which requires our ordinance to be updated. They're fairly minor. The ordinance was actually drafted by our city attorney. The major change, as pointed out, is the statement that any time a proffer, whether it be on-site or off-site, is submitted during the review process and signed by the applicant, that's evident that it's reasonable and appropriate. So that is kind of a protection for the city, but we do recommend approval of the amendment as written.
I don't really understand.
What that means, just if I submitted a proffer, then the fact that I submitted it is evidence that it is
Reasonable.
reasonable.
So that you won't come back after the fact and try and argue that the proffer wasn't reasonable.
Because I submitted it,
Right.
then obviously I must think it's reasonable.
Right.
Okay. And there, unless somebody's holding a gun to my head and you can't, yeah, okay.
And Tom, the way, when I heard about this law, it sounded to me like we were going back a little bit in time where we could suggest more
Correct.
strongly, not the
Absolutely.
best term, but we could say, this is something that would make a difference in how we would vote, whereas the past couple of years, we've not been allowed to do that.
Right.
Yeah, now we can say
Yeah.
that.
So it gives us a little bit more leeway in discussing things.
It does, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think
No,
it
absolutely.
opens up, we usually end up getting that place anyway, it just took longer, and we were dancing around it.
Correct.
Okay, that's good.
So how does that change the way we communicate to people who are doing something that we feel like there are things that you could do that would help mitigate some of these problems? Do we still say nothing about it? How does that?
We'll still keep track of it. You know, and if it's a proffer that you request, we'll keep track of it and show. But what this is saying is that if they offer that proffer, then they deem that it's reasonable.
Yeah, they weren't coerced into doing it.
Right, right. So and that could be saying, oh, we would accept something like that, and
Yeah.
signing. We've had people do stuff like that in meetings.
Right.
And this is something we would come on, vote to accept. Is that?
Yes, and we would forward it on to council for adoption.
Okay.
It requires a motion.
Correct.
I move that we accept the amendment to the zoning ordinance, section 35.2-11.3 as written.
I'll second it.
Okay, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposition, so that will move forward to council. And that will close the business we have here. I do have some new business, I guess you'd call it, and maybe you would present that?
Sure.
Kenzie?
I wanted to ask that I wanted to make a motion that we grant a leave of absence for Cham Light through the end of August. He's on vacation and
Traveling?
just, yeah,
Mhm.
wondered if if we could do that, make a motion to do that.
So, yeah, your bylaws do state that by a majority vote of the commission, a leave of absence can be granted. If it is approved within 1 week, the chairperson is to notify city council that the leave of absence was given. Final determination on whether or not those absences will be excused is up to council, though.
Did you make
You
that
made the
motion?
motion.
I made the motion, yeah, I guess that we were
All right,
kind
and
of
it was
discussing
just
it.
through August?
Mhm.
So
End
it's
of August.
two or maybe just one meeting?
depending
Do we
on
have
if we
any,
have
do
two.
you think we'll have an
He's
August?
missed this one, but that's
It's too
that's
late.
too late.
Yeah.
We may not have an August 11th or whatever. it is.
14th,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it might just be.
Might even be one meeting.
Yeah.
Well, I would accept it if someone wants to second that, and,
14th, yeah. I'll second.
all right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nobody? All right. Hope, and now what do I have to do for city council?
We'll write a letter and sign your name to it.
Nice.
No, I have to
Good
sign it.
job.
I didn't give you my signature yet.
Have you got his signature on it? Can we scan it? We'll write the letter.
I said, I'll come down and sign stuff. Have something for her to sign. All right, well, we might have a meeting. So the next meeting is August 14th. We might not. But I think that concludes any new business I might have. Anybody else have anything they want to put
I
out
just have
there?
a question. Was I having a deja vu, or had we seen that, that issue that we just voted on?
We had got it pulled down because there wasn't
Okay.
enough public notice, enough time for the
Okay.
public notice. Isn't that right, Tom?
That looked
They
awful. Which
failed
one?
to post one of
The
the
thing we just
notifications.
Yeah.
voted on.
The first
thing.
election.
Right. I do have a question before we close, and I don't know how many people have seen this. Already some letters about Villa.
We met with them yesterday at the Technical Review Committee. They have decided to take a step back and do some meetings with the neighborhood. So it will most likely come to you in September.
Okay.
How many units did they want to put in?
53.
And how many by right was that in that area?
Well, it's zoned R4 conditional, which
Oh, okay.
the proffer restricted the use of the property just to a school.
Mhm.
But it's approximately 8 acres. A unit density would be 6 units per acre, and a typical R4 unit density is somewhere around 23.
Mhm.
So were they planning to tear down the building and build new?
Yes.
Build new, okay.
By right?
No, it's a
Is there anything
CU.
by right, or does it have to be a CUP in order to have
No, by right, the only thing the property can be used for right now is a school.
school? Okay.
And
So
that's
when they
something-
rezoned it I don't want to get into it too much, but when they rezoned it, I believe it was in '88, they limited their use to just a school, which was probably not good planning.
What did they rezone it from?
R4.
Oh, and now it's R4 conditional?
In 1984, it was rezoned from R1 to R4 to allow a medical type facility, and it was going to have 200 units.
And that didn't
I believe it
happen.
might have included some of the original villa property.
Oh.
And then they rezoned it to remove proffers that were put on in '84 and just left it as a school. So since, hadn't been zoned R1 since 1984. And everything along Rivermont Avenue is zoned R4.
Hmm.
One other thing I've heard from some people about is on 221, little area that was going to be apartments. Is that coming up anytime soon?
Nothing official yet, but we have not heard anything back from the original petitioner.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have anything they want to, anybody have any motion they want to make?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
That's the
We're done.
quickest